Good morning, Peter.
Morning. Let me just put
Good
my headphones.
morning, up and coming Glasgow musician, Peter.
There you go. It's incredible. At 66. It's all
Uh,
happening.
Sweet Illusions'
Can you hear?
second album is coming out next month.
Yeah.
Did you know there was going to be a second album when you started work on the first? Did you think this was going to go somewhere?
Um, I think it became clear that I enjoyed doing it, so that I sort of couldn't stop doing it. I just kept at it because it was so enjoyable. Um, but there was no plan, it just ended up with more songs, and it was so much fun putting together an album because it's not like the old days where you have to be signed up to a big record company and you have to have, people on your back all the time and get lots of money. Anybody can do it, and then that's it, it's the doors are open to access all that creativity, whether it be, the music and doing the sleeve and all that kind of stuff. So it's fun.
And
But I didn't have a big plan. No, I didn't.
I got the sense that it started off out of um, there was almost a social aspect of it because you were recording with people who that you got on well with. You enjoyed the experience of collaborating with the musicians in the band. You bounced off ideas, but you didn't necessarily arrive with like a whole kind of like plastic bag full of songs or anything to get together or anything like that.
No, I mean this second album was a wee bit, I guess it was a wee bit less random than the first. The first one was really just having a go, just really I hadn't done it for years and never really done it seriously, although I'd been in a band and stuff before. And obviously I'd subsequently in my life met musicians who I respected and liked being around. And so the first one was just really having a stab, as is the second one really, but you just learn more as you go along. And I tried to make it a bit more, I tried to make the songs a wee bit more complete this time around.
So your vocals are obviously on this. Did you play guitar as well? Was there other elements
Yeah,
of?
yeah, I played a lot of guitar, yeah, yeah.
Um,
But it's with Doc, I mean, it's essentially uh, me and Dr. Robert, who plays the bass and plays a lot of acoustic and electric guitar, and Steve Seidelneck, who's fantastic um, drummer and processor of drum sounds, who did all the drum sounds. It's amazing.
yeah, it sounds a bit more. It sounds a bit more filled out and complete this one than the first album.
Yeah, the first one, yeah, it's all just a stab in the dark, it's all just a experimenting and seeing what you can do. I mean, uh, we had originally with the first one, we were going to go into the studio with a band that we'd put together, but then COVID struck and we weren't able to do that. So we were forced then to we still wanted to do it. So what we did was we just took all the demos that I'd made on like GarageBand and all that. And began to, you can send them back and forth on the internet, and somebody, Mick Talbot would add the keyboards or something to it, or would come back and be great. And I thought, well, this is fabulous. I can just pass things around, and they come back much better than they would be if you just done it yourself. And obviously, Robert's got a great address book, so we're able to get a lot of good people. And he himself is a very, very skilled musician. So, but this one was much more just us.
You said both albums are rooted in a version of Glasgow. I thought that was quite fun
Mhm.
because I've talked to other musicians who the Glasgow that they base their songs on or their characters are. It isn't necessarily the one that they inhabit, if you know what I mean. There's a kind of
Yeah,
version of it that either takes on an American quality or a noiris quality and stuff like that.
yeah.
In your mind's eye, did you have a particular version of Glasgow that some of your characters were emerging from?
Yeah, yeah, because really what I was doing was picking up where I left off 40 years ago when I was an art student in a band and when Simple Minds and all that were knocking about and Strawberry Switchblade and Altered Images and all that. And Glasgow was a big kind of happening place. So I was just it's that kind of range. But I mean, it is quite cinematic that even then, I mean, the concept of Glasgow was always quite cinematic and quite dramatic. It kind of suited that. Um, so I'm unashamedly nostalgic, for that period. And I think a lot of the songs and the sounds of the songs would fit into that period quite well.
I talked to PJ Moore from the Blue Nile, and he talked about
Oh yeah,
that period in the 80s, and Bobby from the Bluebells has talked about it as well. About that
yeah,
there was all kinds of folk arriving up in Glasgow trying to find the next best sound and stuff like that. Do you think there was a
yeah.
version of things where you could have been sitting in Nico's having a Brandy Alexander and you could have actually signed a record contract at that stage?
But me personally,
Yeah, because like I mean,
um,
there was people who were like barmen, there was people like the waitresses, there was people who were like artists and stuff like that, and then next week they were on top of the pops, Peter. So you could have been in the right
yeah,
place at
yeah.
the right time, as all.
Well, obviously, we're not in the right place at the right time. And it wasn't for want of trying. But that never really worked out for us. But we would have loved something like that to happen. And yes, of course, that's what very much what the vibe was
Yeah,
in the on the scene really was people would be knocking about Great Western Roads dressed you know, um, as baby goths, and then the next week they'd be signed, and then the next month they'd be on top of the pops or whatever. So it seemed quite possible for all these things to happen. But sadly, it didn't happen to
yeah.
us.
Why do you think kids had that confidence at that time? I asked Jim Kerr, like his first interview, he was a wee guy from Tory Glen. His first interview, he said he wanted to be the biggest band in the world. Where do you think that kind of
Yeah,
bravado came from people of that generation?
don't know. I mean, I think it's a very artistic, creative city. I don't really know where that comes from. I don't know where that seam of creativity has grown from. But I think people just felt they were entitled to have a go at doing this.
Yeah,
And then they could pick up a guitar and get a sense. Also, it was part of the times. I mean, the ethos of the times was, I mean, Axel started really doing it, I suppose, 1977, 77, 78. So that was just, no, post-punk. I mean, that was kind of punk. Although I wasn't really punky myself. Um, it was just that's what you did. You could be in a band. If you got a guitar and you get a drummer and you could just have a go. And then you go and see. I mean, I saw the Simple Minds in the Mars bar. I was like, what? I was like, how could people from Glasgow do that? How could, well, they can, and they were amazing. And it was in a squashed wee sweaty bar. And Jim was there with his, pudding haircut, his Shakespearean haircut. And it was just great. And I thought, well, I want to be part of all this. This looks fun. But of course, it's not. You have to work hard. They worked incredibly
yeah.
hard. And you got to get lucky as well. We did our best, but it never really happened for us. So, but I always maintained an interest in music. And we got kind of tired and punch drunk really from the constantly trying and not really getting anywhere.
Yeah, and then things like, um, Local Hero kind of sets the scene for acting becoming the big focus. Did you still kind of carry around a guitar and stuff like that? Were you?
Not really. I mean, first of all, I've never really been a guy. I'm not the guy with the guitar at a party. I'm not that guy. I don't come and join in and get everybody to sing songs. I've never been that guy. Um, I think I think it just wanted to. Local Hero was such a great kind of uh, a great accident, a great piece of fate, sort of plucking me out of hanging about the Amphora or the Mars Bar or the College of Building and Technology bar and going into this other world that I was also very, very interested in. Uh, I thought, well, I've got to go with this. So I stopped sort of pursuing actually being a signed up uh, pop person. There were a few kind of residual things that happened. I was always sort of half in bands and half kind of there's lots of recordings of bits and pieces and things that we did in various studios that never went anywhere. But I think my heart had gone out of it really, and I just wanted to get on with acting, which seemed strangely more that was kind of happening for me, you know. But that was quite terrifying as well. Didn't really know how to do that. But here
This
we are.